Well, hello there, everyone. All you darling little children of oh little town of Bellingham. Well, it's been quite a journey that you and I have been on. We saw myself getting kicked out of a couple of clubs in San Francisco back in the 80s for simply wearing this, just a raincoat, okay? And we also saw me getting kicked out of a museum because I wanted to ask questions. Well, enough of that. I took a walk in the rain today here and went to the Heathkit store. I know I hear you saying Heathkit's closed, but from the cosmos in the heaven, the rainbow came down and brought down an old Heathkit store with a dumpster. And in the dumpster, I found this, a gift from the cosmos. It's an old Heathkit oscilloscope from the 60s. No, it does not work. However, when I turn it on, there's a dot on the screen and which tells me that the cathode ray tube is good and the power transformer are good. Those are the only two things I'm going to need from this oscilloscope. The rest of the stuff here, the cabinet and the components, who knows, you might see them in an artwork at a charity auction here in Bellingham, or you might see them in gifts left by me to you, us children, on a park bench in a bus stop. So, without any further ado, let's head on inside. Well, here is the oscilloscope team standing on the schematic for the oscilloscope under a communal clear plastic raincoat that Arthur and I made. On the far right is myself as a young adult. No, not much need to be said here. To my right is Michael Nielsen. He's a senior electronics engineer at the Museum of Science in Boston. He let me play with an oscilloscope for the first time, plus he let me help him fix the museum's public address system. To Mike's right is Reed Corderman. He was my inspiration to build this oscilloscope. He built one of his own, and I loved it. The tall man in the yellow shirt is Arthur Rosenau, my one and only true love. It is Arthur's love from the heavens that helped me with this wonderful project. And finally, on the far left is none other than David Clark. He was from the Boy Scout Troop 503 in Winchester, Massachusetts, and he was my very first mentor in electronics. So there you go, staying dry in the rain and letting their beauty and wisdom shine through. Well, let's turn the oscilloscope on. Well, it looks like the pilot light is not working. Let's wait a while for it to warm up, and there we are. There's the dot telling us that the cathode ray tube and the power transformer are working. So let's take the cabinet off and see what we have here. So let's open it up and see what we have. Yes, it's quite clean. Let's turn it over. And the bottom of the chassis is quite clean. There's the all-important power transformer. Let's start by taking the cathode ray tube out. The cathode ray tube is very, very fragile. We'll take this out first and put it in a safe place. I'm having a little trouble getting it out of the casing. Come on now, come on, there we go. We'll take a look at it. It looks fairly clean, and we're going to carefully clean it and set it aside. Now, let's take all the little tubes out of it. Those can be reused. And next, we're going to remove the power transformer. First, we got to cut all the little itty-bitty wires. Then we're going to undo the nuts and the bolts, and hopefully that thing will just drop right out, just like that. Next, we need to remove the cathode ray tube socket. Those are very difficult to find. So we're going to unclip all the wires and set that aside with the cathode ray tube. Now let's make the chassis. A prefabricated chassis is $90. Let's get by with a couple of dollars of scrap metal lying around and my plasma cutter, so I can save a lot of money and have the joy of making the chassis myself, which I don't believe is what Reed did. Reed's family bought a chassis for him for his project. So we're cutting the end of the chassis right now. Once we do the cutting, then we have to kind of turn it and move it like that, turn it to break it loose, cool it in the water. Then let's clean off the rough edges a little bit before we continuing on. For this, we're using a simple angle grinder and, of course, a face mask. Now it's time to stiffen the chassis. The metal is bending like crazy, so we're going to create some stiffeners to keep the metal straight. So do a little cutting, measuring twice, cutting once. Well, you know how that setting goes. Now this is kind of running at a fast video speed, but this would take about 10 minutes at normal speed, and we just do not have the time. Once we're going to be making 4 of these, one for each side of the chassis to stiffen it. And here we are. We're going to first put in a clamp to keep it upright. Once we do that, we're going to put the sheet on top of it, balancing the sheet with the 2 metal bars. Then since the sheet is warped, we have to clamp it straight down onto the edge. But we're going to be welding in several positions to keep it straight and not let it warp. An awful lot of clamping is going on. Sometimes you have to re-clamp it until it's just right. Now we use the TIG welding torch. Yes, this is gas tungsten arc welding on stainless steel. It's very clean, doesn't batter, and you don't have to worry about rough, very rough edges. Now once we do the sides, we do the ends. The ends are a bit tricky because we have to use a weight instead of clamps, and again, we do spot welding to weld the ends in place. We're going to skip the second end and head right on into the next step. After we're finishing this weld, now we're bringing it inside the shop. We're going to practice drilling and punching the holes for the tube sockets. Now, the punches I bought were used ones on eBay, and I want to make sure that they're okay. So we're only going to do 2 holes now, then the rest later on, as you will see. Yes, it looks like it appears, and we have a nice round punched hole. Now, what we're going to do now is put the legs on the chassis. We're just putting legs on it. We're going to be installing panels later on, but I need to have access to the bottom of the chassis to do the circuits. Once the circuit's done, then we'll install the panel to prevent people from reaching underneath and getting a shock. We'll be doing this 4 times. Now we'll bring it back in to the shop, and now we're going to drill and punch the rest of the holes. Now, we're not going to bore you with this. It's all the same. We're just going to do a few and see how it's done. Very tedious, good exercise. There you go. There's the chassis with all the holes punched. So that's it for this first video. My helpers in this project are actually played by Arthur's friends. When Arthur moved into the hotel, when he arrived in San Francisco, he found some homeless young adults sleeping in the corridor. He befriended them, and that was his very first little family in San Francisco. Once I'm finished with this project, I am hoping I can donate it to the Spark Museum so people can talk into a microphone and see what their voices look like. Well, that's it. With all videos, I would say, I love you all.